Good afternoon, happy Friday, happy end of phase one.
End of phase one, 3 weeks. So end of 3 weeks is tomorrow.
Yeah.
For the challengers. I think this can be kind of that slack time for some people where they're like, start struggling a little bit. So I put a post up about just having a check off, like, are you hitting your calorie numbers? Are you in a deficit? Are you hitting your protein? Are you making your workouts? You know, I think those are the main go-tos.
Yeah, I think everybody picks up steam the first week. Second week starts to get a little bit more realistic, and then the third week is when people fall off because you're like, oh, I'm sick of doing this. So I think that's very normal. Yeah,
get in the group, ask us questions, let us know what is working for you, what's not working for you, how you feel. And I will tell you this, a lot of feedback I got is, oh, I haven't lost any weight because I just have a hard time following the plan, and I'm having some, you know, I'm living the decade of decadence like Motley Crue on the weekends and stuff like that. And I guess my thought process, and I will self-admit it, that Gray's probably better than this than I am, is if you don't follow the plan, you're not going to get results.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy. The plan works. It's for you. Follow it. I also understand that that's not always how everybody's mentality works. Like if you're new at this, there's new challenges you're going to fall into because you've never done a solid 6-week plan. So let us know how we can help you. If you're struggling with just compliance, we can give you some tips to help you with compliance.
Yeah.
Listen, if you're trying to be perfect, we can help set some moderation goals so you're not being perfect, but still reaching the goals you want.
Yes.
Right?
I think a big thing is too, is like you have to be honest with yourself about your discipline, and you have to realize where you messed up. So if you're telling me like I'm not losing weight and I'm sticking to my plan when you've gone over on your calories every single day, well, obviously your discipline needs a little bit of help. And that's okay. Like if you're new at this, or even if you're coming back to this, like it's fine. It does take trial and error. So we want you to be honest with us and let us know how you're feeling so that we can help you. That's why you have coaches here.
One of the number one reasons, I've read a coach say this before, number one reason people don't have success in a solid plan is because they don't follow it. One of the reasons they're not eating in a caloric deficit or struggling in MyFitnessPal is inaccurate reporting.
Yep.
Right? So you'll get a lot of people that'll say, oh, I didn't count that hand of almonds. I didn't count that extra this. I didn't count that extra that.
Yeah.
Well, if your caloric deficit is 200 calories, but you're eating 2 handfuls of almonds, a handful of almonds and a handful of M&Ms at work, well, you just destroyed that 200 calorie deficit.
Yeah.
So be really accurate with your reporting. That means you got to be really accurate and honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think we had a good conversation before we even hopped on here about restriction and trying to tell yourself that you're not creating restriction, you're not trying to create disordered eating habits, but you are setting boundaries for yourself, and you're giving yourself disciplined guidelines for how you can achieve the goals that you want. If you don't put in the work and if you don't put up boundaries, you're not going to get to where you want to be.
There's a lot of people that have, and Gray was like this, right? You admitted like this, that tracking for a while gave you anxiety.
Yeah. Right?
And I think that's very common because people track thinking they have to be perfect. I want people to track to find moderation.
Yeah.
Right? To understand that, like, you know, before we started this challenge, I knew this challenge was coming, and I got up to like 224 pounds because I knew the challenge was coming. So there's a night one night I literally ate a half a pizza, like a half of a whole pizza, like a DiGiorno's thick crust pizza. I tracked it. And I made adjustments for moderation so I could still eat that pizza.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to track to be perfect. I think you need to track to learn that you can manage eating normal foods and eating healthy foods and eating how you like.
Yeah.
But if you manage and keep it within some parameters around MyFitnessPal, it just educates you. A lot of people are scared to track, and I don't think you run from tracking because you're scared from it. I think you should push to tracking so you're not scared of it anymore and understand that you can eat in moderation. That's one thing you taught me about the scale, right?
Yeah.
Is people run from the scale. But if you run from the scale, what happens when you do weigh? I mean, for some people, it's a complete killer of your program.
Yeah.
Because you weigh, you're in shock. I've kind of moved to some clients that are doing daily weighing based on my information from Gray. Not everybody, but some people are doing daily weighing so they're not afraid of the scale. They
Yeah.
understand what changes overnight in a scale, like what makes a difference in the fluctuation.
Yeah.
You know, there's somebody that was selling an MLM product, and they put a post up, and I ended up trashing it because I couldn't help myself. Sometimes I'm a social media terrorist. But they're like, my husband lost 4 pounds overnight on his first night of taking these pills. And I'm like, man, what a crappy thing to do to people. I mean, talk about somebody that doesn't provide anything positive for a community other than trying to make money.
That's what I posted about last night. Yeah.
What was the post?
About how it takes effort. You can't expect effortless solution. It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
There is no cheat code.
Right. A big thing that has helped me with tracking, though, I will say, for anybody, I was always scared to get a food scale because, well, not even scared. I was lazy because I was like, I can eyeball this. I'm totally fine. A food scale has actually made tracking a lot easier because I don't stress as much about having to guesstimate what I'm doing. So it's a lot more accurate. So then I feel like I'm in control.
It is. It's a control thing.
It is a control thing. Yeah. So I think the more accurate you can be, the less anxiety it produces. And so again, it has come from me not setting restrictions on myself, but setting boundaries for myself. Like, okay, I don't need, 6 beers in 1 week. I don't need that. So I'll just have 1 or 2 and I'll know how much is in it.
I've had people start tracking and they're like, oh, that's about 6 ounces of protein. And then when they start tracking, they're like, I was so under in protein until I finally started tracking and saw what I was doing.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So
hey, we're talking about myths.
Control. Yeah. Myths.
So.
Myths.
Yeah. I don't. You can say that word. Myths. Myths. So, I think there's so many fitness myths.
I had a speech impediment when I was little. I would say my TH like.
Were you tongue tied?
Yeah. So now I have to over enunciate.
Misconceptions.
Yes.
There's so many fitness misconceptions. Lies. And they're really spread by crappy people, I think, who want to sell you products. I think that's how it kind of works, I think. And I think there's a difference between causation and correlation. Something can cause you to lose weight and correlate to other behaviors that you're doing, right? And they get confused. Also, a lot of people want the fast way. Mm-hmm. And fitness misconceptions give people the idea that there's a trick to this and there's a fast way to doing it.
And I think a lot of it, unfortunately, is money oriented. I mean, this is a huge money forward industry. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, you come across a lot of people that will just sell you bullshit for the point of making money.
If you told me there's a wrap to put around my waist to make me skinny and a bunch of people thought, and I was uneducated on it, I'm buying the wrap.
Or if you told me I'd make $1 million selling it, I'd probably do it.
Yes, right? So I think the fitness misconceptions are very confusing for people. They're frustrating for me when I see it because I genuinely care for people. I want people to have, I want people to have the freedom of being able to have the health that they want. There's freedom in that, right? And I want people to overcome challenges. Man, we got a lady in the group, in the Phenom group, not even a paying client, but has followed kind of some of our stuff, asked me questions. She lost 118 pounds.
That's insane. And
never paid a dime for it. It was in the free group. Never paid a dime. I love that.
Yeah.
I love the fact that she just took some suggestions that we had, implemented, and lost 118 pounds.
She did her own work.
That is that's awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and she would ask me about misconceptions. So let's go over a few, okay? Number 1 is a really good one. Spot reduction. Exercises for replaces of fat. So we get that all the time. Hey, I really, really, really want to lose the fat around my belly. Mm-hmm. Okay. My legs, my thighs.
My bat wings.
Yeah, girls get that, right? Then there is such a thing as like genetic predisposition based on male, female, and where you hold your weight, right? But there is really no such thing as spot reduction. You can't do one thing to make the belly fat go away.
Right, it's not controlled.
The number one way to get rid of fat around your belly or the fat around your butt is a caloric reduction and lifting weights. I truly believe that.
Yeah.
Here's why we all want to get the fat around our belly button gone, is because it's probably the hardest thing to achieve. Sometimes the places that we want our fat to go, and leave our body are usually the last places to go, because they're the ones that people kind of make their idol.
Yeah.
Right? If a guy's like, I'm shredded, I got abs. Well, everybody wants abs. Yeah, but that's the last thing to go.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing to come in for most dudes is a really lean abs and toned body. What is it for girls? What's the last thing that goes?
I'd say, okay, so a lot of females struggle with their like lower belly fat,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of people fail to understand that that is where your uterus is. So like you're always gonna have
A uterus?
a pooch. That's always going to be there. That's really, really normal. But I would even say, like, I still struggle with body image with my legs sometimes because I still hold cellulite on my legs, and my inner thighs and my hamstrings have been what has held the most fat for me. But it just depends. I mean, some women will hold heavier up top. Like, some women will have self-image issues with their boobs. Some will have it with their lower body. It just kind of depends on your anatomy and your makeup and where you actually hold your fat.
So here's something I learned from Mike, was there's not a such thing as spot reduction there, but there is a such thing as spot gain. So people who have high cortisol levels, high stress, it's harder for them to burn fat or hold tissue around their stomach. That was kind of interesting. So there is no such thing as fat reduction. So when you come to people and you say, hey, how can I lose this weight around your belly? If they tell you anything other than a caloric reduction and lifting weights, they're probably trying to sell you something, right?
Yeah. Well, because I think what I've always said is like the solution for this is free. Like you don't need to, like you don't have to invest in a coach. You don't have to invest in anything. It's just you need to make better, smaller food choices, and you need to exercise. But those things, I mean, like you'll have to pay for a gym membership and you'll have to pay for groceries, but like the actual answer is free.
Oh yeah, it's true. So for dudes, for your bros out there, I hear guys say, how can I work on the peak in my bicep? Now we can train more biceps and make the muscles grow, but the shape of those muscles is genetic, right? There are just some dudes who are shaped different and it's more aesthetic than other dudes, but you can train to build the muscle, how it's shaped, and if it's peaked or your chest has this or that. That's genetics. That's how you are.
Yeah. So I think it's a big thing to never idolize somebody else's aesthetics. Like there's some girls on Instagram and I see their backside and I'm like,
you sent me a picture.
Woo!
You sent me a picture with like goals.
Yes.
Like, bro, that girl's like in this game for like 10 years. She crushes, like she dieted for this.
Yeah, but
she hates her life right now.
I don't know about all that because if I looked like her, I would not hate myself.
She probably eats like 1,400 calories a day. You'd kill yourself with 1,400.
Again, you can't idolize how somebody else looks because you're probably never going to look like that no matter how hard you train. Your body is totally different.
That sucks.
Period.
I used to want to look, you know what I used to do is draw the He-Man characters as a kid.
Yeah.
Because that's what I wanted to look like. How dysfunctional is that, right? Number 2, cardio for burning fat. So I had a guy one time on social arguing with me forever that the reason he does cardio is because that's when you're in the fat burning stage. And then I realized I don't even want to talk to this guy anymore because it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So again, cardio is great for increasing your activity level so you can burn more calories, so you can push yourself more into caloric reduction, just like any other process, just like walking, whatever. But cardio is not when you burn fat. It's aids to your, I guess, your total daily energy expenditure.
Cardiovascular health.
That's another one. 20 minutes 3 times a day is almost a need for cardiovascular health. If you're going to do cardio, do it for cardiovascular health. Don't do it because you think it's going to make you lose fat.
Right.
Inadvertently it can. There's a causation correlation. But if you're in a reduction and your activity level is high, you're going to separate the difference between...
Yeah. I like to think of my cardio as like a mental health thing. It's like my lifting weights, although I feel really, really good after it, that's when I like go to put in work. Like I go and work on myself when I lift weights. But my cardio is kind of like my relaxation from that because I don't have to think about it. So like when I go for a walk or when I go for a run, it's kind of like when I just drown everything out and I don't focus on anything. Weightlifting takes a lot of focus. So I burn my brain during weightlifting and I release my brain during my cardio.
I think this is good stress relief, exercise, anything like that.
Yeah.
Fat burning tools, waist trainers. Like this should be an obvious one, right? Like, but you still see it all over social media.
Time.
You still see people putting waist trainers because they say it works. Waist trainers.
They're called sweat belts now.
Yeah, it's a clown show. Okay, it's a joke. If your local IFBB fitness competitor is promoting a waist trainer. It's not because she used it to make her waist smaller or burn fat around her stomach. It's because somebody's paying her to sell them, and she's trying to maximize her 40,000 followers on Instagram. It has nothing to do with anything. Waist trainers are a clown show. If you promote them, you're a clown.
And if you want to sweat, Mike will tell you this, go sit in a sauna.
Yeah, I did that one time this week. It made me really
I need to go. I need to find somewhere that has a sauna.
I'm still a little bit freaked out from public saunas.
Where,
that kind of
where do you
grosses
go
me
that has
out.
a sauna?
There's one at the gym I use. I'm sure there's one at Move, right? I'm sure there's one at the gym
Not
I use.
West
I'm just freaked out at public saunas. That's a me thing.
I want to go.
I'm freaked out at public pools.
All right.
Yeah, so this is the whole long process. But go buy a sauna. You can get on Amazon for $5,000.
Get on the Stairmaster. I'm on there for 4.5 minutes, and I'm like death.
Oh, the step mill?
Lynn said go outside in the summer. You'll sweat. But yeah, it's not summer right now, so you can get on the
In the
Stairmaster.
step mill? You're talking the step mill? That thing's a form of medieval torture.
That's what I'm saying. If you want to sweat, I literally was dripping after 4.5 minutes on it yesterday. So there are more ways to sweat than to put a waist trainer on.
If somebody tells you to buy a waist trainer, please make fun of them.
Yes.
Okay.
Fat burning
Supplements
foods.
that say they burn fat. It doesn't.
That's another scam. Anytime you see anything that is like attached to a product that says fat burning, you can pretty much assume that it's bullshit. Period.
Yeah. But I see it's tempting because you think it's easy, right?
A hot bath straight up dehydrates me. True.
Well, honestly, a lot of MMA fighters, people that are making diet, and because I've been involved in that crowd, they will sit in hot baths
I take hot
with
showers.
clothes on.
There you go.
Right? And it's scary.
Yeah.
Starvation mode. I have a friend that kills starvation mode stuff. It's great content. Starvation mode doesn't exist. You're not burning
let's
fat.
explain what starvation mode is.
Yep.
Some people don't know what it is. So it's basically the understanding that you are eating a really low amount of calories, but you're not losing weight. And so you're entering like starvation mode.
Mm-hmm.
Your body enters starvation mode and you can't burn fat.
Okay.
Essentially.
So a buddy of mine always uses the analogy. He's never seen somebody gain weight on Naked and Afraid. That show Naked and Afraid.
Yeah.
You've never seen what happens to them. They all get like ridiculously skinny. They burn muscle. So there is no such thing. Now, there are a lot of things that can damage your body of being in a super low caloric deficit for a long period of time.
Mike and I have a video on that on Instagram.
Yep, that is a great video on the negative. And I've actually had clients that have asked me to coach them through long periods of caloric deficits. And I've said no.
Yeah.
I've actually let clients go because I'm like, I don't want to do that. They're like,
Yeah.
I want to go through a week of what it's like to do like a peak week for a show. And I'm like, well, you're doing a show. They're like, no. It's like, well, then why would you do that to your body? That's so dumb.
I think it's like when you've gone through a certain amount of like dieting or restriction, you want to test your mindset.
Sure.
Then you're not really testing your body. You're testing.
I just
your
don't know.
mind.
I just don't know if the cause and effect are there. Like there's some dangers, and like why would you purposely dehydrate and destroy your minerals and carb cut? Like to me, a person that wants that, we gotta look back at why we're doing this.
Yeah.
What's your goal here? What's your purpose? Because that to me that sounds dysfunctional.
Right. Yeah. But long story short, starvation mode does not exist.
You put on here protein is bad. So you mean like
too much when you said too much protein.
Oh yeah. So I had an issue one time where I did a nutrition plan for somebody, and their primary care physician said that too much protein is bad for your kidneys.
This is a big thing going on right now.
That's a dummy.
Yeah.
Okay, that guy's a dummy. They've done studies where even up to 4 times body weight of protein intake is not bad on your kidneys. Okay? So if somebody says, and I got, dude, so when this happened to me, that this doctor said, this primary care person said, protein can be bad, it's bad for your kidneys, the amount of, and I was like, it was a younger female, late teens, early 20s, exercised a lot, and she was like 0.7, 0.8, 0.9 grams per pound, not even 1 gram per pound of body weight.
Yeah.
And the physician was like, that's going to be damaging on our kidneys. That was so crappy because people listen to their dumb doctor when they say that. Like, stay in your lane, bro, right? So I totally got all this research, sent it to the person to send to the doctor, never heard anything from the doctor. That's a person that doesn't care about getting it right for the patient. They care about being right because they're a doctor.
And I think that's a big thing too that you have to remember is when you are meeting with a doctor, you still have to put in your own research.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't always believe everything that your doctor tells you, because just like any other person, a doctor's view is swayed by the things that they've seen, the things that they've read, and the people that they've been around and learned from. So like, you have to also put in your own research when it comes to hearing crazy things like that.
I've had people come to me where their doctor said, I need to go low carb.
Same.
I need to
I had
because my
client
doctor
like
said
that
cut carbs. I'm like, is your doctor stupid?
That's what I said.
Like, your doctor's probably burning heaters of cigarette, like Marlboro heaters outside in the back office when they're done.
Yeah.
This is a sensitive subject for me, as you can tell.
But still, again, put in your research. Like, your coach can't do it alone for you. Your doctor can't do it alone for you. You also have to look at the things that could be affecting you.
Meal timing. So my guess is that you're saying you gotta eat 6 small meals a day to lose weight because it burns your metabolism.
That, and a lot of people, so I posted this on my Instagram too, just to see what other people were saying. Eating before bed will make you fat. Actually not generally speaking. No, it won't make you fat. It just could mess with your sleep habits, but it won't make you fat. It doesn't really matter what time you eat.
So if somebody says don't eat after 8 o'clock at night because all that food turns to fat, they're wrong.
They're wrong, yeah.
6 small meals boost your metabolism. That's not accurate.
Right.
Here's what I will say, and this is another learned thing. We had a lot of people in the challenge, and I've had a lot of clients who say, hey, I'm hitting all my calorie numbers. And say their calories are 2,000 calories, okay? And they're like, yeah, I'm eating small breakfast, lunch, and then I'm eating 1,200 calories between 6 and 10. And this is another Mike learned. And guys, Mike's going to start getting more and more active here. We're starting to do some things with Mike that you're going to like. Mike said, well, in the short term, that's not going to bother you. You're right. Eating that food at night is not going to make you get fatter. It's still going to count as your daily caloric intake, which, your daily caloric intake is all that really matters, right? But in the long term, backloading your food increases. I mean, he went through a list of things from stress, sleep, digestion, water holding, getting up in the middle of the night and peeing, your blood sugar dropping, making you get up. I mean, he went through all of these things, and then he went through the positives of front loading for sleep and things like that.
That's something I've been working on, and I've been trying to encourage that with my clients too, is like actually getting up and eating breakfast, because for so long I was like, it doesn't matter if you eat breakfast or not, but like hitting caloric goals, hitting your macronutrient goals, and your stress levels and your sleep levels is so much more important. So if you can balance your so what would you recommend? So like, if I'm eating 2,000 calories, what would my front load be?
I think 1,200. I told the guy to go reverse, get your 1,200 by 6, and then get your 800 later on. At least make it better.
Yeah.
But daily caloric intake from a fat burning standpoint is really all that matters, and getting your protein numbers all that really matters. 6 small meals a day is not better than 4 meals a day.
It's whatever you like. And I just posted about this too in a series.
The anabolic window, right? People talk about the anabolic window. Like, you have to eat within 30 minutes after your workout, or else your workout's wasted. That's not true, okay? I mean, if you got errands to run after your job and you need to eat a meal an hour later, you're still fine. You're going to recover, right? The reason I eat right away, especially on a high calorie intake, is if I eat at 9 o'clock, I work out at 10, and I'm done with my workout at 11:15. I'll eat within 30 minutes because it's just time to eat.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't, not because I'm trying to crush the anabolic window, it's because I got to eat every 3 hours.
Yeah.
Right?
To get your caloric goals. Yeah. I think eating around your workout is very individual, because some people, like, if I drink a protein shake before a workout, I'm going to vomit. I
can eat at 9 and be in the gym training by 9:30 with no problems.
I need about 30 to 45 minutes. But it also depends on what I eat.
An hour and a half.
It depends on what I eat.
Yeah, high protein, high fats take a long time to digest, so you don't want to do that before you work out.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's, again, I think anything surrounding meals is what you like. Which
Carbs make you fat.
Anything makes you fat.
Yeah, too many calories.
Screenshot.
Too many calories make you fat, right? Carbs don't make you fat. There are going to be a lot of people that tell you to cut your carbs, and they're going to play the insulin game. I like to say that's the insulin fairy. The insulin fairy doesn't exist, just like Santa Claus, okay?
Some people have to believe in Santa.
So please don't let your kid watch this video if they believe in Santa. But it is true that when your insulin level is high, you can't burn fat. Insulin gets in the way of burning fat. But how does your insulin get high? You eat too much, right? So carbohydrates don't make you fat. They're wonderful for you. Quality carbohydrates are better for you than shitty carbohydrates. That's kind of a
Quality.
no-brainer.
Yeah, quality still matters.
But if somebody says, hey, so here's another thing. If somebody comes to you and says, I cut all my carbs and I lost weight. Causation, correlation. Here's what they did when they cut their carbs. They just were in a caloric deficit. So they lost weight. It's not because they cut their carbs. Right? But I hear so many people, that's one I think one of those myths that's shared like word of mouth, because somebody's gonna be like, Joanna next door, she cut her carbs and I lost weight, so I'm gonna cut my carbs so I can lose weight.
Yeah.
Doesn't really work that way. All right?
Again, I think everybody's individual. And I want you to notice too, like if somebody cut their carbs and said they had great success with it and then gained all their weight back and they're like, oh, well, I'm just going to cut carbs again, then obviously that method didn't work.
Yes. How many times have you heard somebody say, you know what works for me? 2 years ago, I lost 60 pounds cutting carbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you gained the 60 pounds back, bro. It didn't work.
Because as soon as you put those carbs back in your diet, you're eating the same.
Yeah, it's not what worked for you because you gained it all back.
Look at the people that have kept the weight off and ask them what they're doing. Normally it's just
they eat real foods. They eat better foods. They eat real foods over time. They maintain habits and they maintain moderation. They exercise, right? It's a lifestyle change.
Yes.
Lifting weights is dangerous. Injuries in kids. So that's kind of my wheelhouse.
Yeah, you like that.
From my history of training athletes, here's what's bad for your kids. Crappy form. Here's what's bad for adults. Crappy form. Kids need to lift weights. Kids can lift weights as soon as they're interested in lifting weights. Okay, so if you have a kid out there and somebody says lifting weights will stunt their growth, that's not true. There's no science to that. Lifting like an idiot is bad for everybody. Okay? I think one of the greatest things we can do to our body is learn how to manage external resistance. Because for the rest of our life, we're going to have to start managing external resistance.
Yeah.
When I'm 60, 70, 80 years old, I'm going to have to learn to manage external resistance. Whether I'm picking, moving my body, other things. Learn it now. Learn how to train now.
That's my argument for lifting weights over cardio too. Is like cardio is always going to be good for you, but you're always going to have to pick stuff up for the rest of your life, no matter what it is. Like I don't know if any of you guys saw the commercial over Christmas.
The one that made you cry?
Yes, the old man who was like training with his kettlebell, trying to pick it up so he could lift his granddaughter up on the Christmas tree. Like, that's important. You don't want to be 80 years old and not be able to keep up with your grandkids or your kids or whatever it may be because you can't lift anything up.
I've worked with clients that have become unfunctional. Mm-hmm. It's hard to get it back.
It's very hard.
It's hard to get it back.
Very hard.
Yeah. Women and bulking. Do your spiel.
My spiel?
Yeah.
No, this is one I just love, but my phone's up there to show a picture of like my before and after. And you guys tell me if I've bulked. But I think it's such a common thing because you do see women now that have put in the work for bulking. But like just like fat loss, bulking takes so much time. Mm-hmm. Like Josh still tells me my muscle's immature. I don't have mature muscle yet.
Well, that's a training thing. That's a training over time. I don't mean that like a crappy thing.
I know, but it takes time. Like it's taken me. I just started noticing real, like my shoulders came in kind of early, but like real muscle, like end of last year, really, like in the last like 5-6 months. And I've been doing this for going on 3 years now. Like it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of time to get your calories up so high that you can actually put on that muscle. It takes a long time.
There's a guy out there, Eric Bach, that I think is pretty smart. It's pretty funny. He's a fitness coach. He put up a post one time. It's like, exercises for getting lean. And then he put up one that said exercises for getting big. And it was the same exercise.
Yeah.
It's the only difference was caloric intake, right? So the way to bulk is by increasing your calories. The way to get leaner is by decreasing your calories. And I have never had a woman who switched to strength training and say, oh my gosh, what a difference.
Yeah.
My body, there's a really good post out there. I'll try to find it somewhere in my 10,000 photos on my phone, where a girl posted, and I love these ones the most. A girl posted how much she weighed, and it was like 140. And then posted like 2 years later how much she weighed after really seriously strength training, 140.
I have a picture like that on my Instagram.
Of you?
I can pull it up.
And it's unbelievably different. Everybody would want to look like the one on the right.
Yeah, I've fluctuated 5 to 10 pounds over the past 2 years, but my body looks entirely different. Like entirely different. Like I've always, like I said, my shoulders came in, like my shoulders grew probably the quickest out of everything, but my lower half and my midsection are different and I weigh the same.
So lift weights.
Yes.
And also there's can you address this? High reps for toning.
I don't like the word toning.
But people use it.
I know.
Right? People use it. Like women will be like, I don't want to lift big to get bulky. I want to do high reps for toning.
So we talked about rep ranges last week. You can always build muscle in any rep range, but like you have to constantly challenge your body to more if you want to see body composition changes. Like you have to change your training constantly. You have to do progressive overload. So.
But when you hear like trainers to the stars, girls, you need to not lift a weight over 8 pounds or 10 pounds. You need to do reps of 30.
Like why? That's just to me, that's insulting me. I'm like, you don't think I'm stronger than holding 8 pounds?
Well, that's the same group of people that promote the waist trainers. Too,
yeah.
Right? It's the same method, right? So I've never seen girls not be happy over time where they didn't really start to work in that 6 to 12 rep range, adding some muscle. Yeah. And you know what else you can do with more muscle? You can eat more.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
If you add muscle, you can eat more food.
That's
because
the best.
Muscle is metabolically, calorically expensive. It takes trust me, if you carry a lot of muscle, it takes a lot of food to keep that. Because I don't think your body wants to hold muscle.
Well, no.
It wants to survive.
Right. Yeah. I think the coolest thing too, like with weightlifting, it's taught me. I tell new clients this all the time. Like it's taught me so much more about myself than I've ever known in my entire life. But like being able to add more food and being able to like look at it is I can eat as much as possible, but still lose weight or maintain. Like that's cool. Like when I got my calories up over 2,500, I was like,
that's a good amount. Yeah.
Dang.
We have a girl. That's in the challenge. She's 140 pounds and she's doing like 2,400 calories a day.
Yeah.
2,600 calories a day, and that's a challenge. So this is another good example of why when we develop your macros for you, it's really a target number. It's not perfect because you could take a 200-pound man who's 30% body fat and plug them into the caloric and into the macro numbers, and it's going to give them the same macros as a 200-pound man who's at 10% body fat. But here's what I'll tell you. The guy that's 200 pounds, 10% body fat that carries a lot of muscle, he's going to be able to eat a lot more food than the guy that's 30% fat. So That's why I tell people the macro calculators are not perfect. They're just starting you in a place.
Guidelines.
It's helps you starting. So when you see big, like men or women with a lot of muscle and they keep it on for a long period of time, you'd be blown away at how many calories they eat a day.
It's a shit ton. It's a lot.
I got up to 4,200 to 4,500 calories a day, and I would sweat when I eat. I'm not kidding. I would sweat when I eat, and my heart would explode if I went up a flight of steps.
Yeah, that makes sense. But don't be, especially as a woman, like this is, I know Eileen's on here right now. We had a conversation about it the other day about how strong you feel when you can like load up a plate or like a barbell.
Yeah. Like
there's no feeling like it. I told Josh this the other day. What gets me going is when I walk into a gym full of guys and I'm the only girl in there and I'm outlifting all of them. Like that is,
it's a big flex.
Nothing feels better than that right there. It's a huge flex.
Yeah.
Huge flex.
Yeah. So that's our 8 questions. Oh, do we have a question?
Have you seen The Rock's Insta post about what he eats? Oh yeah,
that dude eats. Now he's also like 6'4", 260.
Like he's a big.
Like he's a massive. That dude probably brings in maybe 5,000 calories a day. I've seen foods like plates he eat when he's lean, and it's like, dude, he's like eating double IHOP meals.
But and then you look at like Michael Phelps. His body's entirely different, and he eats the same amount of food.
Yeah, because of output.
It just depends. Like it's all different for each person.
Yeah.
But
the Rock is big. Now the Rock gets help. Like the Rock's on the good stuff, right? So so the Rock gets to eat a lot, right? And he refers to himself as the Rock, which is just kind of weird to me.
But we need to nix being scared of food and being scared of lifting.
Weights.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they will change Change your life.
All right, those are our 8 myths. So I'm gonna post this when this goes live. I'm gonna go underneath and post
The questions.
the eight things we covered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions for us that are still on here? We will wait. We will wait for you. I gotta go eat
I'm starving.
my second lunch. No questions, comments, concerns? Oh, Lynn's talking about how 4,500 calories. Yeah, I know that would suck. I mean, I could do it if you added alcohol and cheese fries and hamburgers and all that good stuff.
Hey, you definitely follow the 80-20 rule when you eat that many calories, because there are nights that it was like 2 cups of spaghetti, pasta sauce, meat, and garlic bread was dinner, and it was like 9 o'clock, and I felt gross.
Yeah.
But I wanted to see if I could get to 230. I got like 232, and after that,
Well, that's the same mentality as those girls coming to you about doing prep week. You just did it reverse.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure. It's 100% the same thing. It's a test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a test.
Yeah. I wanted to see if it worked, and it did, and no, I don't want to do it again.
Yes, but long story short, a lot of things you hear out there are stupid.
Yeah.
You have to do your own research to see if they are factually correct or not. Normally they're not. If anything is attached to the words fat burning, it's probably a myth. And all you need to do is eat the appropriate amount for your goal and lift weights and walk.
And be consistent.
And sleep 8 hours.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, cool.
We'll see y'all.
Next
Ask questions
Friday.
halfway through.